Now, a little summary so far, because all of this chapter has been about solving quadratic equations. Yeah. All right. It's going to be a big pause in the video there. I put it on mute so you didn't have to hear the Toonie conversation. So, solving so far. Any quadratic equation. That's any equation with an x squared. I am muted. I'm muted. Any equation with an x squared. The first thing we learned was factoring. Right? Make one side equal to 0 and factor. That was the first thing that we learned. The second thing that we learned was sometimes you just have an x squared and you don't have an additional x. Or you have a binomial that's squared, like an x plus 3 squared, but you don't have additional x's. Then you can square root both sides. Then sometimes we had ones that when you tried to factor them, they didn't work. And you can't just square root both sides. And we had to complete the square. Now I'm going to put in step 3, because completing the square is quite the process. And we saw with completing the square that we could make a formula. So for step 3, you can complete the square or use the quadratic formula. So this is a review of what we've seen so far. If you can do 1 and 2, they're often a lot faster than the formula. Okay? The formula will always work, though. It'll always tell you the right answer. So for this first one, and this is where it becomes really important, how fast and how good are you at factoring? How fast can you look at that and say it can't be factored? Because if you tried to factor it, x and x, to get 7, the only possibility would be 7 and 1. Does that ever make 2? No. So you know right away that you can't factor it. So now we're going to go to our quadratic formula. I'll write it out again. Negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. And all you have to do is plug in the numbers. Can you see that a is the number in front of x squared? That's going to be 1, b is 2, and c is 7. So we're just looking at the numbers in front. So we got ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. In this one, there's a 1 there, even though it's not written. So our a value is going to be 1, our b value is going to be 2, and our c value is going to be 7. So all we have to do with the formula now to solve this is put in negative 2 plus or minus 2 squared. No, when you do it on your calculator, you do once positive and once negative to find both answers. 2 squared minus 4. Instead of a, we would put a 1. Instead of c, we'd put 7. Over 2 times 1. You'll get a non-real answer. Because watch what happens. Let's simplify this. Negative 2 plus or minus 2 squared is 4 minus 28 will be negative 24 all over 2. Can you take the square root of a negative?
No.
So this is not possible. It's not even, I don't even know if it's a spy because it doesn't even exist. Okay, let's look at B. Because the first one was not possible. You need me to go back? You went to the washroom. Okay, go quick. Okay. So for part B, again, quadratic formula. Negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac over 2a. What's our b value? So you plug it in like this, negative negative 2, it will become positive 2.
So will we have to memorize the whole formula?
That formula is on your formula sheet. For grade 11, it's not for grade 12. You have to memorize it for grade 12. Or just, I mean, you saw how we made it, right? You just have to remake it. Negative 2. Whenever you're putting a negative into a formula, make sure you use brackets. Yes, Chris?
If we were to do this on a test, would we be able to just put a +2?
You'd be able to just do a positive 2 right away if you'd like. Be careful when you do negative 2 squared that you don't, because that's going to be a positive 4. That's why I like to put it in brackets. It's not going to be negative 4. Minus 4, a is still 1, and now c is negative 7 over 2 times 1. So that's just going to be 2 plus or minus. This is going to be 4 plus 28, which is 32 all over 2. There will be people so tempted to cancel out those 2's. Okay, you are not allowed to. Because order of operations say this whole thing is together. And unless that's identical, unless a factor is identical on the top as on the bottom, you can't do that. Here's a good example why. Okay? Is 2 plus 8 divided by 2 equal to 8? Is 2 plus 8 divided by 2 equal to, what is it equal to? 5. You can't just cancel out those 2's because order of operations say you first have to add. 2 plus 8 is 10, then divide by 2. However, if you change the adding on top to multiplying, is 2 times 3 plus 5 divided by 2 equal to 8? Yes. Here, if you'd factored it out, they could cancel because it's a factor that's identical. So at this point, we can't just cancel out those 2's, even though some of you will try over and over and over and over again to do that. I'll keep reminding you that you can't. However, we can simplify this. Square root of 32 is the same as 4 root 2. Now we can simplify because you could factor out a 2 out of the top, leaving you with 1 plus or minus 2 root 2. And once I've factored it out, then I can simplify it. And we get x is equal to 1 plus or minus, 2 root 2. Questions we can do for this one are 4, 5, and 6. And it's just plugging things into the formula. Go to example 2. Oh, and I forgot to stop. Here, go back.
There's 9, 4, 5, and 6.
4, 5, and 6.